I get a lot of questions about second generation being added to Pokémon GO. For those unfamiliar, Pokémon are released in generations with each new main series game. Currently in Pokémon GO, we only have first generation, which was released in the US with Red and Blue version in 1998. Second generation includes 100 new species of Pokémon, which were released with Gold and Silver version in 2001. Currently, there are 6 generations of Pokémon, with a 7th set to release later this year. In total, this makes for over 700 species of Pokémon, and a lot of new content for Pokémon GO down the line. The biggest question I get asked about second generation is when will it be released? And the truth is, I don't know. There are a lot of rumors online that it'll be released sometime in November, and that may or may not be true, but personally I do expect a major update to Pokémon GO around the holidays. So my guess, and again this is just a guess, is that second generation will be released sometime between November and December. This would put Niantic on track to release a new generation of Pokémon every 6 months. One in the summer and one during winter. Obviously, the biggest change that comes with second generation is the addition of new Pokémon. There are 100 new unique species of Pokémon in second generation, but a few of them are related to some we already know from first generation. 10 first generation Pokémon get new evolutions in second generation, so you want to save up candies for these species if you want to evolve them. Let's start with Pokemon who currently don't evolve in first generation. In second generation, Onix evolves into Steelix, a ground and steel type. Scyther evolves into Scissor, a bug and steel type. Porygon evolves into Porygon 2, and Chansey evolves into Blissey. I expect these evolutions to cost 50 candies, since that's the current rate for Pokemon who only evolve once. The next 2 Pokemon currently evolve once, but gain a second evolution in Gen 2. Golbat evolves into Crobat, and Seadra evolves into Kingdra and gains Dragon typing. I expect the candy costs for these evolutions might change. Currently, it costs 50 candies to evolve Zubat to Golbat and Horsey to Seadra. Pokemon with 3 stages cost 25 candies for the first evolution and 100 candies for the second. Logically, the Zubat and Horsey families would now follow under that new rule with second generation's release. Regardless, I expect the new evolutions to cost 100 candies. These next 3 are a little different. Poliwhirl currently evolves into Poliwrath, but in second generation it gains a new possible evolution, Politoed, which is a grass and water type. Gloom currently evolves into Vileplume, but it also gains a new possible evolution, Blossom. These are both 3-stage families with 2 possible outcomes for their second evolution. Additionally, Slowpoke gains a new possible evolution in Slowking. If these split evolutions are to be determined randomly, their candy costs might need to be adjusted to compensate. Our only example is Eevee, who currently has 3 possible evolutions. Aside from the nickname trick, these evolutions are determined randomly, and as a result, Eevee has a lower cost to evolve than any other 2-stage Pokemon. If Niantic follows this pattern for the new split evolutions, I expect Gloom and Poliwhirl's evolution costs to be lowered to 50 candies, and Slowpoke's to be lowered to 25. If they don't adjust it and don't give us any way of influencing the outcome, 125 candies is going to be a huge investment to evolve an Oddish or a Poliwag all the way up, only to possibly get the wrong evolution.
Are these...
In addition to new evolutions, second generation also introduced baby Pokemon, which come before current forms. Pichu is a baby Pokemon that evolves into Pikachu, Cleffa evolves into Clefairy, Igglybuff evolves into Jigglypuff, and Smoochum, Elekid, and Magby evolve into Jinx, Electabuzz, and Magmar respectively. Tyrogue is a baby Pokemon that evolves into either Hitmonlee or Hitmonchan, but also has a third possible evolution, Hitmontop. Baby Pokemon could only be obtained by breeding, which isn't an option in Pokemon GO. The closest equivalent we have is hatching eggs. Once baby Pokemon were introduced, their evolved forms couldn't be hatched from eggs. I think baby Pokemon should only be obtainable by hatching eggs, which would effectively make them pretty rare. Pichu would replace Pikachu as an egg Pokemon, just like all the other baby Pokemon would replace their evolutions in eggs. With the current rarity of 10-kilometer eggs, and the fact that Jinx, Electabuzz, Magmar, and the Hitmon family all hatch from that tier, this might need to be adjusted. My suggestion would be that baby Pokemon all hatch from 2-kilometer eggs, though at a lower rate than common 2K Pokemon like Rattata or Zubat. When it comes to candy costs, Pichu, Cleffa, and Igglybuff all become 3-stage families. Their candy costs might be adjusted so that the first evolution costs 25 candies and the second evolution gets increased to 100 candies. Magby, Smoochum, and Elekid all evolve once and would likely cost 50 candies. Tyrogue is a special case. He's like Eevee in that he has multiple possible evolutions. I expect 25 candies as a cost to evolve him. As for influencing which evolution you get, in the main series it was determined by his attack and defense stats. If attack was higher than defense, you'd get Hitmonlee. If defense was higher than attack, you'd get Hitmonchan. And if the two were equal, you'd get Hitmontop. A similar thing could be done in Pokemon GO with Tyrogue's IVs, though if that were the case, every perfect IV Tyrogue would become a Hitmontop. It could be adjusted so that a Tyrogue whose attack is his highest IV becomes Hitmonlee, a Tyrogue with defense as its highest IV becomes Hitmonchan, and a Tyrogue with stamina as its highest IV becomes Hitmontop. This way, you could determine from the appraisal system which evolution you'd be getting before spending the candies. If 2 or more IVs were tied, the game would choose randomly between all the possible outcomes, and that way, every perfect IV Tyrogue would evolve randomly. A Redditor determined the approximate CP of every second-generation Pokemon using a formula deduced by another Redditor named CP Multiplier. Unfortunately, I can't find the thread anymore, so I can't credit the exact author, but I'll link to the spreadsheet with the calculations in the description. Keep in mind, the CP formula may not be exact, but the list at least provides a decent approximation of each new Pokemon's power. The strongest non-legendary is undoubtedly Tyranitar, but without going into too much detail, we still see a lot of bulky water types at the top of the list. Kingdra, Slowking, and Politoed all have some of the highest CP totals, and most likely they'll have overpowered moves as well. Luckily, we finally get a strong electric type in Ampharos, who is one of the first slow and bulky electric type Pokemon. The 3 second-generation starters, Meganium, Feraligatr, and Typhlosion are all near the top of the list, along with other Pokemon like Ursaring, Porygon 2, Donphan, and Houndoom. One of my favorite Pokemon, Shuckle, lands all the way at the bottom of the list, lower than even the baby Pokemon. You can check out the full list at the link in the description, but remember, the CP values might not be exactly correct, so the way I'd use it is just to gauge which Pokemon will be stronger than others. Adding new Pokemon introduces quite a few new complications. Every Pokemon immediately becomes more rare, making getting enough candies to evolve anyone a little bit more difficult. Personally, I'm a big fan of increased rarity. More Pokemon means more opportunity for location-specific spawns. South America and Africa can have their own region-exclusive Pokemon, but beyond that, spawns can get much more specific in their mapping. The addition of new Pokemon undoubtedly makes the Pokédex harder to complete. More specific spawning parameters will make it more difficult for players to catch them all, but that's where trading comes in. As long as players in different parts of the world have access to a similar number of exclusive Pokemon, then everyone enters into the trading system with equal capital.
Do you want cheese and salsa?
Yes, please. There's a big opportunity to create, or improve if it already exists in an undetectable state, weather-related spawning. New ice types like Delibird and Sneasel could become common during snowfall, or maybe slightly afterwards so you're not inclined to go out during a blizzard. Second generation Pokemon games introduced the day-night cycle, with some species of Pokemon only being available during certain times of the day. There isn't any strong evidence of time-related spawning in Pokemon GO yet, but with certain Pokemon in second generation already tied to specific times of the day, this is a perfect opportunity for Niantic to really push time-related spawns. Thank you. Making Pokemon spawns more intricately tied to events in our real world is a huge opportunity for AR gaming. The more closely the world of Pokemon GO imitates the real world, the more immersive the experience becomes. With each new generation of Pokemon, the player's world should grow bigger. Every major update should encourage us to travel farther and become more social. With first generation, Niantic has laid an impressive foundation for Pokemon in the real world. Now each successive generation needs to build upon that, eventually creating a Pokemon world that's indistinguishable from our own. It seems like these nest migrations are going to be a regular thing in Pokemon GO. These changes both happened about 23 or 24 days apart, so it seems like once every 3.5 weeks, you're going to see some changes to your local nests. What that means is, if there's a Pokemon in a nest that you want to catch and evolve, make sure you do that because there's going to be a time limit on it.